Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March 2021 monthly meeting of NDGifts Movement, North American chapter. Today's meeting is going to be a conversation with two gentlemen who have been doing entrepreneurial work around neurodiversity. We have Rich Davis of My Comfort Careers, excuse me, and Taylor Duncan of the Alternative Baseball Organization. And I'm going to start with Taylor and let him describe a little bit about his work. And then when Taylor's finished, we'll switch over to Rich, and then we'll follow from there. So again, as I said before, very basic conversational format, very relaxed. So without further ado, Taylor, take it away.
Very good. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Peter. My name is Taylor Duncan. I am the CEO, Commissioner, Executive Director of the National Alternative Baseball Organization for teens and adults ages 15 years of age and older with autism and other disabilities for physical and social skills enrichment in life on and off the baseball diamond, where all are accepted for who they are, encouraged to be the best they can be, and instill confidence needed to fulfill dreams in life on and off baseball diamond, of course. And really, it started with one group of 6 players this nonprofit did in a local area about an hour outside of Atlanta. And then now, with the help of the autism community and disability community and every community who's helped us, now we're going to be returning from the pandemic with about 80 teams in about 33 different states. And so we're constantly moving forward with our movement to hashtag power through perceptions. It's a fantastic thing, and we're raising awareness and bringing people on the spectrum and with other disabilities out into the wonderful world of America's pastime of baseball. So thank you, Peter, for having me here today.
Thank you for coming. Okay, Rich, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Rich Davis, and I'm the Chief Comfort Career Coach of, it's actually Comfort Career Connections, and the website is My Comfort Job. So I get to be confusing right from the get-go, and I will tell you, thank you though for offering me the opportunity to be here on the panel. I have been interested in, passionate about, and now a player in the world of neurodiverse employment. When I was 64 years ago, when I was 64 years old, a few years ago, I made the decision that I was not going to stay private in regards to my own invisible disability. And I just felt it was time for people to know that there's no problem with having any type of neurodiversity, and mine has been called all kinds of stuff. I do have a little PowerPoint that I can get into, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But I think it's very important what we call each other, how we treat each other, and that we see that we're just all in this together with different abilities, interests. And the big question is, how do I fit in? And am I an entrepreneur? And I know I am, so I'm really glad to be here, especially today, to talk about this great topic.
Thanks, Rich. I appreciate the clarification, and I apologize for the error in the organizational title. So if you give me a moment here, I'm going to give you, as I promised, going to give you a share screen functionality, and you can then share with us some of the slides that you prepared for today. So just give me a moment here. And I'm going to do the same for Taylor as well. So in case he has anything he wants you to show, like a website, he will. So both you gentlemen now have co-hosts. So each in your own turn, if you need to or want to use a screen share, by all means, go ahead. So we'll start with you, Rich.
Okay. Hold on just a second. It's always a matter of clicking in the right way to make something happen that you want to happen. There we go. And I can do it this way. Okay, so again, is being a neurodiverse entrepreneur really my comfort job? One of the things that I learned along the way, I worked for Strayer University in their marketing department, and I helped them launch a brand. And they taught me that having a word is an important thing to have. And my word is comfort. So the question is, do you have a comfort job? And this is me, yeah, really me, back in 1975 with 73, with a lot more hair. And I was working as a psychologist in the psychology department of Mansfield State School in Connecticut. I was a student getting an undergraduate degree and bachelor's degree in psychology at the time. And this was employment in 1973, rather cutting edge, actually. And this gentleman was folding rags for the aerospace industry. Things have changed a lot since then, that's for sure. And it's been interesting to see the changes. But for me to find my fit, that young man was really, really troubled. That young man knew that his thinking was different and didn't always fit in. And I never imagined in my wildest dreams, really, that I would be an entrepreneur who was helping people with invisible disabilities and talking about my own. So there's a lot of words, though, that were flying around and are out there certainly now that describe who I am, and I have to know who I am. So I just thought I would put it out there that, yeah, I love the word neurodiverse. I think it's great because there were a lot of other words around that were not as kind. And I relate to being a person with OCD, a person with mental illness, neurodiverse and neurodivergent, because my thinking is different. I also relate to being an addict, actually, because my obsessive thinking gets me into compulsive behavior sometimes that can be addictive. But I needed to come up with a new word, and I did. So in my company, and as I coach people, my clients, and again, as an entrepreneur, I have to know, who am I going to serve? Who's going to benefit from what I do? And I help QUIWIDs. Those are qualified individuals with invisible disabilities. I guess I have to let somebody in. Excuse me. And the question is, are you a QUIWID? Hold on. Okay, I just did a screen. I just let somebody in, and now it doesn't seem like I can move this forward. Sorry for the glitch, gentlemen and ladies. Okay.
No worries. We've all gone through this lately.
Aha. It moved. All right. So the question is, I am an entrepreneur. Am I? Yes. This is a definition that I got from good old Google. A person who organizes and operates a business or businesses taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. And then I added some other words to the screen because really there's a lot of things that describe entrepreneurs, and I am passionate about what I do. I enjoy being innovative. I'm driven, yes, and I adapt to change pretty quickly. Maybe not remembering every word that I'd like to remember, but I do adapt. And then independent learner, yeah, because in 1975, after finishing up at the University of Connecticut, I came here to Philadelphia, went to Temple University, and unfortunately, after my first year of classes, I never finished because of my mental illness. So I've learned a lot on my own and put together a new language because I felt that the whole idea of this discussion about job fit really needed to be talked about in a way that everybody could understand. Whether you were a parent, whether you're a person who's neurodiverse, whether you are an employer or even an employment service provider. I just wanted to try to get everybody on the same page. Let me just. So what I've developed is called a fast track comfort career audit. It's a series of virtual coaching sessions. And what I do is I teach something I've developed called the Comfortable Fit Approach for Career Exploration, or CFACE. So I help my clients to see how their 6 simple qualifications can actually match the 6 qualifications that employers are looking for, or employer expectations. When that's done, anybody can get hired. And then I've also developed what I call a comfort career journey. And the question is, what hangout are you in? We'll talk more about that. But the other thing that I did to put together this audit was I decided that I wanted to use a tool that was well understood both by employers as well as by the career seekers, but mostly by the employers. So I did some research and I found an assessment called the Harrison Assessment. It was launched in 1990 by Dr. Dan Harrison. It's used by corporations all over the world to help screen candidates for team building and talent development. But there's a career navigator system within the Harrison. And I use the reports that are generated from the Harrison in my coaching. So you have to think as an entrepreneur, what do your customers need? And I think that my audit can provide an awareness of career options. There are over 700 jobs in the Harrison assessment, and they're analyzed 175 individual character traits and the 700 jobs to determine level of enjoyment for each career. So we start off with what you really enjoy and then get into more skills training, which is not what I do, but help people start with the enjoyment. A realistic career pathway to success. I'm always helping people to see whether they're in fantasy or in reality in the coaching I do. And a simple career development tool, because I try to keep the basic terms simple. And then personal insights, getting into character trait analysis, which is possible with the Harrison tools. So matching these 6 simple qualifications, I just broke it down to I am, I need, I can, I should, my way, and I will. So I coach my clients based on that approach, and I help them to see that the employers are looking for stability and support, and someone who's supported. So you have to be able to talk about how well you have a support system in place. You have to make a good first impression. There's so many good ways to start off, and you also have to know yourself, including the things you might have done in your past that could be a barrier to employment. Employers are going to wonder about that and check about that. You have to know how to talk about that, depending on whether you're someone who has a criminal background or not. And then I need, well, the employers are going to be looking for, do they fit? Will they accept my salary, benefits, and fit into my culture? So you have to know your goals, short-term, long-term, and your financial goals, and to make sure that that is a good match. I can is on your resume. Those are your skills, the things that you've learned, the things that you've accomplished, and what transferable skills do you have for a particular job, as well as an I can attitude. One of the reports that Harrison offers is your greatest strengths report, which is a great narrative that explains that. I should, you've got to know your passion. And as others I'm sure can talk about, if you know what your passion is, you go after it. And finding that can be a challenge. Of course, that's why I use the Harrison. And certainly you can go to so many places online or at your local one-stop career center, and or possibly through VR and in different ways, find that passion. And then every employer is looking for someone who would enjoy the work. My way, of course, is self-advocacy. And the question there is, do I disclose? Do I not disclose? How do I disclose any invisible disability? And then employers have to realize that people need to do jobs their way. And sometimes you have to explain that to the employer. And then I will is just being persistent, and doing that, your employees will stay engaged. But being persistent in career planning, I help my clients understand what this career journey is all about. Now, this career journey is not just for people with disabilities, it is for anyone, where we look at, are you uncomfortable or comfortable? Well, hangout number one is where I'm comfortable. And that's really a good thing, to be comfortable. And my fantasy job, though, I'm just imagining my fantasy job. But my fantasy job personally is a fantasy. I want to be Superman, and I don't think I can do that. That's my fantasy. That's my fantasy job. And everybody can have one. Some people have a hard time coming up with that, but everybody needs a fantasy job. But I also explained that in hangout number one, sometimes you can have a fantasy job from, I call it from hell, because that's just what it is. It's the thoughts that come in that I can't do this and I'll never fit in, and I don't know. It's just all doubt, and it can lead, unfortunately, to depression. And it can lead to being very uncomfortable. And because hangout number one is where you're comfortable, this can also lead to alcoholism or taking drugs or doing other things just to feel better, or just staying under the covers. So you don't want to stay here, that's for sure. So what you need to do is just develop your Comfort Career Connection team. Those people who just want to help you create your career that's right for you. So they'll help you get into hangout number two, learn about your qualifications and employer expectations, find the match, and bingo, now you're making money. And that is reality. The only thing is, this is very difficult because you're moving actually in the direction of comforts while you need such a team. And here, yeah, you're going to be working, but after a period of time, possibly, it's not going to be comfortable anymore. It was exciting when you got the job, but after a while, for most people, they want to change. So very simply put, I teach my clients that a series of well-planned next step jobs is how anybody can create a comfort job where they're not only making money and all the other good stuff that they want, but they define for themselves that they're now comfortable. So that's the two parts of the audit there. The third would be the Harrison assessment reports, the career development report that is extensive for helping the person see themselves in many different ways, and then the career options reports. I also help my clients by having them look up and list the jobs that they would enjoy themselves, and then I work separately with their parents or the team members to see what they think the career seeker would enjoy, and then bring everybody together. And that's getting everybody on the same page. 10 career enjoyment analysis reports are available, and that's where you can drill down into specific traits. And I'm going to stop there because I've been talking a lot. And if there's any questions, that would be a good thing. And if not, I can talk about my career journey a little bit more in depth and see what comes out of that. But any questions?
I don't see anything in the chat so far. If anyone does have a question, feel free to put it in the chat and we can call it out. I would just start with one question for you, Rich. We discussed earlier the possible applications of this to by extending it to career services programs in colleges and universities. Obviously, your first option is corporate, but could you talk a little bit about the ways in which, assuming there's funding, how this model might work with career services for people in college?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, Peter, and I've been trying to find an answer. The challenge that I've had so far is that this is not an evidence-based approach. There has never been, to my understanding, any research done that would prove that using a predictive analytic tool can improve employment outcomes for individuals with disabilities. I have been in touch, though, here in Pennsylvania with some officials, and it's the challenge of funding. But certainly, if there could be a project where there was funding available and someone who wanted to do the research, I'm very, very open to that, and being part of a team to to just see how this could work and how it could possibly improve what we currently provide through our vocational rehabilitation system. I don't know if there's anybody else today who has any information about how the services that they've ever gotten through vocational rehabilitation have really worked for them or not.
Thanks, Rich. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions so far. So I would just, you should talk a little bit about your own journey, and then we're going to switch to Taylor and let him talk a little bit more about his organization. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Let me just see if I can move that. And okay, looks like I can admit someone new. I'm sorry. It seems like when I admit someone, it gets a little more dicey to also, I'm sorry, be able to move a slide. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so this is kind of what my journey looks like as I go through it as an entrepreneur. Hangout number one, as I mentioned, I just didn't feel like I fit in. My thinking was different. As a child, I was the one who stopped going out and playing and just ended up going home after school and watching the TV and eating candy, for that matter. I always worked after school. Actually, even as a younger child, my parents bought a local store called a stationery store, we called it. It had everything, cigarettes, newspapers, and all. And I was asked to go there after school instead of going home when they bought the store. My father lost his job of working at a publishing manufacturing company, Kanye Nast Publications. And so I did that, but I was still not quite able to engage a lot because I was at work. I liked the work, and I did learn a lot about, getting business understanding and becoming an entrepreneur because of the experience. But I also found that I didn't connect enough, as I look back on things, with like a mentor, someone who had a college experience themselves. My parents were high school graduates. My father was a first generation in this country. And so that is why, hangout number one is where I was quite a lot. And then the question in hangout number two for me is, I had to decide, okay, I am disabled. And certainly there are a number of people who can help anybody identify whether they're disabled or not. And it's tricky. Certainly when I coach people, I help them see that different entities and different people can help you define whether you're disabled or not. I think the ultimate decision about disability, though, really lies with the individual, and that's why it's important to get through that hangout number two. And I did, and certainly I've always been in recovery of different ways, therapy, et cetera, medication at times for my invisible disability. But this whole new world of really being able to talk openly about it. I'm a little more hesitant maybe than others to do this, but I'm excited about it, and it feels pretty good. So my way is a choice. Everybody has to make their own decision about whether they're going to disclose or not. As far as the next step jobs that I've had, I just listed them. Everything from there's a lot. I was in the jewelry industry for about 6 years. Managed a store in a mall, and I was in the temp service industry because I knew I really enjoyed the idea of training and the idea of interviewing and hiring staff, and that really didn't turn into a career in human resources, but it was a step in the right direction for me because I learned about how jobs fit. Then I was hired in the early 90s to manage the job placement department of the Private Industry Council of Philadelphia. which is the precursor to Philly Works, which is here in Philadelphia, our workforce development board. And so I was there in professional in the field in 1998 when the career links here in Pennsylvania, we call them the career links, were formed, the one-stop centers. So definitely got into workforce development and loved that. Whoops, sorry. And then because I launched the business in 1998, and I was working for employment service providers, helping with job development services. But unfortunately, after 9/11, that business was no longer able to be full-time. So as an entrepreneur, I did the right thing. I got a job and I worked for Strayer University, and I used my skills to go out into the community and to help them launch their brand, always keeping React Consulting alive. And then actually someone contacted me and asked if I would be a private career coach for them. They were referred to me. So that started me into the idea of private career coaching, which has kind of taken me to now. So do I have a comfort job? I think I do. Anyone can create their comfort job through working a series of well-planned exit jobs. This is a comfort job for me, but only God knows exactly which direction I'm going to take in the future. How is my company going to grow? Am I going to stay a solopreneur? Am I going to help the businesses with disability diversity consulting? Am I going to get involved with a workforce development project and maybe be part of a research team? I don't know, but I do want to grow my business. I'm a solopreneur now, and I want to grow it and bring other people in with me who have a common vision. And then, then kind of retire in maybe a more traditional sense and play with my grandkids. So that's my comfort career journey.
Thanks so much, Richard. We really appreciate you sharing your personal journey. That's certainly an inspiration to many people. All right, now I'm going to switch over to Taylor. Taylor, you want to talk a little bit about enlarge upon the origins of alternate baseball, as well as what you see happening with that organization in the future.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Well, alternative baseball, for those who weren't here earlier, we provide the authentic baseball experience for teens and adults ages 15 years of age and older with autism and other disabilities for physical and social skills enrichment in life on and off the baseball diamond. To us, it's more than a league. We call it an authentic experience because it's all about learning the social skills through on-the-go type situations that can be easily translated into real life, as well with how we deal with disappointment in life and how we go in to deal and how to be good sports overall and how to work together as a team. And that's the big thing about that too, is really we started with only 6 players in 2016. And then now, thanks to national coverage and the continued spread of word of mouth throughout the neurodiversity community and beyond throughout the entire country, we're now going to be returning from COVID-19 pandemic with around 80 teams. So that's one team in every one of those individual cities in 33 different states. And we're going to keep expanding on this too, because really what I found after we were on Baseball Tonight and the Today Show was that there were a lot of other areas, whether they were rural, suburban, or urban areas, that were in the same situation as my local area of not having very much in terms to go to after high school graduation. And so if they don't have anything in their area or don't know about the options because they're very hard to advertise there, how are they ever going to have the motivation or the encouragement to get out into the real world and be successful at it? Because it takes services like us and being able to have enough options, because as you know, the disability spectrum is so wide, it's impossible, virtually impossible for just one thing in different communities to cover all of it. There needs to be something for different segments of it. And that's where we fall into place for the age demographic of over 15. Now, I would say the floor starts at 15, but there's no ceiling. Instead, I say the ground starts at 15 because there's no maximum age limit as to who can participate in our organization. And the biggest thing about that too is basically in a lot of these areas, services, they drop off after they graduate from high school. And that's a terrible thing. So much more like what I'm doing, just like what Mr. Davis is doing up there in Philadelphia, just like all the contributions that we're doing together to promote the overall mission and the movement of the neurodiversity community is basically to raise awareness and to raise acceptance as well, and promote the importance and say, hey, you know, we can do the same things as everyone else. We just need to be given the opportunity to go out there and try it. We'll give you our best work. Do we learn in different ways? Absolutely. We're all unique in our own individual ways. It's all about getting out there and really showing and having the opportunity to show what we can do in society. And that's another thing why I chose baseball, is it gives everyone the appropriate pacing, so to speak, in order to, at their own skill level, in order to get out there and continuously improve and grow. And they're thinking, hey, you know, maybe I can improve in XYZ way outside the baseball diamond as well. Hey, I've got these type of dreams, these type of aspirations, these type of goals that I've always wanted to do. But now that I know that I could do this, maybe I could go out and do that. So we've got those that have gone out and found employment, those wanting to get behind the wheel of a vehicle for the first time. And really, there was one who said that I'm not a doctor or anything, and I don't pretend that this is a miracle cure by any stretch of the imagination, but we've even had one who said, hey, you know, thanks to having something to do in my life, I've been able to get off of all my medications. And that's why this is about giving back to those, especially in those rural areas and suburban areas, that important opportunity to be part of this team setting that can improve their social skills of learning how to work together as a team and employment off the baseball diamond as well, because this gives pretty much a ground zero for basically getting out there and putting those skills to the test and really improving on the things that they feel like that they need to improve on. And then we like to have fun too. So we're all the way from Hawaii all the way out to Bangor, Maine now, all the way south to Florida and the greater Los Angeles area in California. But we do have smaller areas such as Meridian, Mississippi, and Bangor, Maine. There's just not much in those areas at all. And so it's up to us too, not only to focus on where we're going in the urban areas, like, you know, Boston, even a minor market like Chattanooga, where they do a lot of good services up there, but to also focus on the rural areas as well, to ensure that those individuals who live there who don't have easy access to the same quality of services also have the same quality of services as those in inner cities and in the upper suburbs, upper higher class suburbs.
Thanks, Taylor. That really hits upon a theme that we often come back to, which is that there's so many areas that are underserved, and there's a tremendous need to find out, link them up together in some sort of unified activity, which allows them to fully participate. And I think it's it's really a remarkable achievement, building something that stretches from Hawaii to Bangor, Maine. That's amazing.
Thank you. And then we just saw new ones in West Virginia in the last couple of months as well. And, you know, they don't hardly have much at all there at all. Zero. And so it's in those areas and across places like Mississippi and Arkansas and Oklahoma and these rural areas too. They'd love to have our support in those areas too. And I know that we do our best too, to really provide everything we can, but there is that segment outside of the major suburbs and cities that are absolutely going unserved. Meridian doesn't even have Special Olympics, and I don't even think they have ARC there either anymore. I mean, it's very much a disability desert as what I'd say it.
I'm going to remember that phrase. Have you tried at all reaching, say, into Canada?
We actually have our trademark registration that's very close to being finalized in Canada. Yes, we do. And really, it won't be long because we paid the final fees and the final dues. to be able to have that finalized so that we can start forming teams north of the border. And so more than likely we'll probably start in the English speaking provinces, because Quebec is pretty picky in which they expect you to professionally learn and know the French language. And that takes a lot more time to do. And so we'll eventually get there, but these other areas will probably be starting in those areas first.
Good point. Again, in terms of North America, Mexico would be another interesting area to move into at some point, particularly given the popularity of baseball.
Absolutely, that. And we had one individual there waiting to start something in Mexico, and then somebody contacted me from Deutschland, Great Britain, China, South Korea, Japan, and Australia.
Excellent.
And so I'm currently in school now, doing online classes for a bachelor's degree, to be able to go out there and successfully expand it to all these other countries and areas. Because though Japan is very advanced and they're big into baseball over there, huge over there. Yomiuri Giants, Hanshin Tigers, Koshien tournament. It's basically their Super Bowl every year, the Japan series and the Koshien tournament every year. But, as for autism services, they're almost non-existent in Japan. There is about as big of a stigma there as there is actually here, believe it or not, even though a lot more individuals overseas, they think much more of creative terms, if that makes sense. But we don't hear about those services that are over there.
Yeah, I have run into some issues in terms of addressing these issues of autism in East Asian societies, and obviously there are cultural complexities that really inhibit the development of resources. So whatever foothold you can create and any conversations you can begin is certainly a contribution.
For sure.
We'll
keep working at it.
You're doing excellent work so far. So are there any questions thus far for Taylor or Rich?
Come on, bring on the questions. Let's hear them.
Hey, Rich, this is Antonio. I have a question, and I'm just curious how you keep everything all organized. I mean, because I know like organization is definitely an issue for me and probably a lot of autistics and various other people. You have like so many teams in there. So what's your magic sauce?
Well, one part of the magic sauce, Antonio, is I'm keeping it small. Even though I have the website, I haven't really pushed a lot of people to the website, because if it gets too big, it will not be an organized rollout for me or in my life. But as far as general organization, one thing I'll mention is that I started something with my interns. I've had two interns, one for a year who's no longer interested in the internship anymore, and then another one I still have now. He's been with me for about 6 months. And I developed a schedule. I talked to my therapist, and I was told that 45 minutes, take a break. Well, it's hard. It's actually easier for me to do it when I do it with someone else. So I send out schedules. We use Google Docs and share a schedule. So it's also a communication tool. This is a way for my intern to let me know how they need to change up their schedule. And I put 45 minutes, a 5-minute break, and another 45 minutes. That's about an hour and a half's work, then about another half hour for a break in between, and then another work session of an hour and a half with a break. And then lunch, and then 2 of those in the afternoon. And then if anybody wants to work at night, because that's when they're most comfortable, they can take it up till 10 o'clock at night. And it's new and it's working though. I've gotten good feedback. So part of helping me stay organized is that I organize my time. And in coming up with this new schedule, now I've asked my intern, Tim, he's worked with this schedule that I came up with for a while. And now I've asked him, I said, Tim, we talk about his sleep and how much he sleeps and how comfortable he is, with the whole idea of a schedule that works for him. And I said, well, this is your sleep schedule and stuff. Why don't you let me know what your work schedule should be? Because sometimes Tim is able to go an hour and a half without the break. So it's something that I'm just trying to get feedback back and forth. So if there's anybody has on their Comfort Career Connection team, and we all have those teams, partner with someone else, I would say, in order to maximize your effectiveness for time management, territory management. I introduce all my clients and myself to using a calendar. Some people don't use a calendar, and I do. I've got Google Calendar to do all kinds of different stuff. I mean, I never got good at tasks, so I kind of put it all on my calendar. But I made up my own system, and it works for me. And I can keep on top of things. Is it perfect? No, but it's just taking little bites towards being a little more organized. Calendar, schedule, and also having other people that I can be accountable to. I do that. And I'll sometimes say, I'm going to do this. Let's say something that I'm afraid of doing. So I'll contact a friend. I'll say, I'm going to do this right now. And then I contact them again once it's completed. And so don't do it alone, because you can't get out of hangout number one alone. Now, those are the kinds of things that I would say have been working.
How about Taylor? Same question.
Well, basically, too, would you mind repeating that by
Sure.
chance? Because part of it was cutting off here.
Yeah, I was just wondering more or less about how you keep everything all organized. I mean, your baseball league is getting very, very large with over 80 teams. So
Yes.
organizational skills definitely has to be on point.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, we have local managers part pretty much what they do is they sign an agreement, and they're all independent contractors, part of this larger network. And so the local operations, that's all done locally. They do all their promotional work, and we help them where they need the most help in, basically. And we send out equipment, we send out pretty much press releases to the news stations and newspapers in their area, hoping they'll pick them up and help us recruit, that sort of thing too. And another thing with that is we'll occasionally organize national events as well, with a national team of alternative baseball players comprised of players from these teams in this network. But that won't come until next year because of COVID, unfortunately. But hey, safety first, man. Safety first. We got to get everybody rolled safely back out there. And really how we're dealing with COVID is now that cases are down in a lot of the areas, we're leaving it up to the individual managers to decide, whether it's safe to actually get back out there this summer or fall. And if they do, everyone has to sign COVID waivers so that nobody is held liable for that. Last thing we want is somebody to die on the field.
Yeah, no, that
Terrible.
makes perfect sense. Just to see how, because every area is different, and also you want to.
And if they're in areas still locked down, we're not going to let them come back in those areas until the governors and the mayors in those areas have completely lifted those restrictions.
Right. Yeah, one thing I was interested in is, how like neurodiversity and entrepreneurship can definitely be a great alternative for employment. And of course, in the gifts, we we are more throughout the spectrum of neurodiversity to include like dyslexics and others types. But dyslexics actually do make like the best entrepreneurs. I mean, I think I read somewhere that about 25% of dyslexics, 25% of entrepreneurs are dyslexics. And a lot of them are like billionaires. So definitely have like
Vince McMahon.
Oh yeah, Vince McMahon and Charles Schwab and was it Mr. Wonderful and some of the others. But yeah, I think that's like one of the gifts about being neurodiverse is that
I remember Vince McMahon coming out and saying he was dyslexic one time.
Yeah.
I did several years ago. You know, chairman and president of World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE.
Yeah, he did do that before he fires people, which I do enjoy how he likes to fire people.
You're fired. Yeah,
But,
I remember that too.
oh,
Long
yeah.
time ago.
Mm-hmm. But people who are neurodiverse, I think that there is like that thinking out of the box because the school system and how the world works, they work in one way, but then people who have who are neurodiverse, they have to kind of think outside the box, and to go ahead and adapt
Exactly.
to society, or masking, I guess would be the case, which I know I mask, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the people will mask as well, whether it's good or bad. Definitely a lot of pros and cons, which I'm not gonna get into.
Right.
But
I
yeah,
still wear a mask wherever I go, but I haven't been inside anywhere in over a year now. I've been quarantined at home and doing curbside pickup dining options since March of last year.
Oh yeah.
And wherever I do curbside, I'm always wearing a mask, but there's always those that, there's a lot of people, especially in my congressional district, who don't believe in masks, and they don't believe in the vaccine either.
Right.
They just elected Marjorie Green.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get the general idea about how that's viewed here.
Oh yeah, I can totally imagine that.
So
Yeah.
do we have any other questions that participants want to ask either Taylor or Rich?
Bring them on. I want to hear them.
Well, you guys, both of you covered an awful lot of territory. So I don't think there's a lot of I don't think there are any gray areas left. You both gave just wonderful descriptions of the organizations in which you founded and work. So
awesome.
I think we've come to the time when we generally conclude the meeting. So I want to take the opportunity to thank Taylor and Rich for taking the time out of their schedule to share their activities. And we look forward to hearing more about the progress of your work. Antonio, anything else would you like to add?
Yeah, just thank you for attending, and stay tuned next month. We'll have another meeting, topic to be determined.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And I want to thank you for having me, certainly, and I'll be happy to send out the deck to you, Peter, and Antonio, and then if anybody is interested in it, you have my permission to certainly send it around.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate that.
Excellent.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for attending, and thank you for participating. And everyone, have a great day.
Thank you.
Yes,
good
thank
day.
you.
Take care, everyone.
Right.